Hi guys, this video will walk you through the next step of your science fair project. This is the research plan. This section includes your hypothesis, your materials, your procedures, and your variables. So let's talk through what that looks like. Don't forget your project should be in your Google Drive. So that's where you can go to edit it. Flip over to the blank template. We'll start with your hypothesis. Okay, this is where you're going to make your prediction, but just saying, I think this is going to happen. It's not going to cut it in this section. Okay, we'll start out by giving a short recap of the background that you found in your research. And you might say something like, the other people that did this research found that when they did this, this other thing happened. Okay, you'll be more specific than that, obviously. But then you'll go to your own hypothesis and you'll say, use your if-then statement. You'll say, if I independent variable, then dependent variable. Okay, that's an easy way to remember how to do your hypothesis. And including your independent and your dependent variables. That's awesome. Okay, then you're going to want to go to your materials list, and you will use every single thing. If you do not have whatever you need listed in this list, we're going to start taking points off. And technically, you can't use it in your experiment because you didn't include it in your materials list. So put everything that you need, including, depending on what your experiment is, if you need measurements of things, you might tell me, hey, I needed 5 milliliters of whatever liquid I used, okay? Or I used a half a cup of whatever, okay? So put your materials in there. Now your procedure. This is the tricky one, okay? You can do your procedure either in complete sentences, or you can do your procedure in a numbered list. If you would like, you can say step 1, whatever the first step is, and so forth, numbering each step. You need to include every single step that you used. Now, when you're figuring out your procedure, like we talked about in class, sometimes it helps to actually picture yourself walking through the steps of the experiment. Because sometimes you might not remember to write down a specific step, but if you kind of have a picture of yourself doing it in your head, then you can write down each step as you do it. Okay, remember the point of writing down your procedure is to make your experiment reproducible. Someone else should be able to do your entire experiment and follow the steps that you laid out. They, of course, can't read your mind, so if you leave steps out, then they won't know what to do next. So make sure that you include every single step that you take in your experiment so that someone else could follow in your footsteps, okay? Also include disposal of any of your hazardous materials or biological waste, okay? Then your variables, of course, we just need you to identify them. By this time, you should be pretty familiar with what your independent variable and your dependent variable are, but you do need to specifically identify them here in your report here. And then your other variables, or what you are used to calling them, hopefully, your controls. Okay, and you're going to talk about what those controls are and how you will control them. Okay, if, for example, you're growing plants and you're testing what they're being watered with, one of your controls might be the room temperature or the amount of sunlight that they get. You might say, we will control the amount of sunlight they get by placing all of the test plants in the same window. That way we make sure that they all get the same amount of light. Okay, here is the rubric that we are going to use to grade your research plan. You need to check this out before you write it. Here's your hypothesis. Did you really give us a testable hypothesis, and did you tell us why you picked that hypothesis? Reference your background. This is where you put you did include a testable hypothesis, but you didn't include your background research and tell us why you think that's the result you're going to get. Okay, now you've included it, but you've put it in a way that can't be tested, or you didn't include it at all. Okay, same thing with materials. Give me a complete list. Partial list is going to get points off. Same thing with your description of your procedure. Did you give me all the steps of your procedure, and did you give them to me in order? Okay, don't leave gaps. Don't put them out of order. And then here's your variable section. Did you identify them? Did you identify them correctly? Okay. Hopefully you can look back, if you need to, at your topic pitch that has already been graded and approved. If you got them right, then you shouldn't have to worry about it. You're pretty clear on what you got. If you listed them wrong, there will be notes from me on there about what is correct. So please make sure that you either use your correct ones or the corrected ones that I have given you. If you list the wrong variables on here, it's not going to go well for you. So make sure you do that, okay? The last thing, of course, is your mechanics. Again, anytime we're turning something in on the computer, you can use spell check, you can use grammar check. Make sure it's your best writing because the judges will be looking at it, okay?